Hey, it's Jason from Pro Guitar Studio here with our first lesson of 2023. And today I decided to do a lesson on pentatonic double stops. Now, if you don't know what double stops are, basically what we're doing here is if we had, like, let's say the minor pentatonic scale, so just A minor, because everyone knows A minor from the 5th fret, we're essentially doing two notes that are on adjacent strings. So, for example, the 5th fret and 5th fret together, and then the 8th fret and 7th fret here together would be double stops, right? So most of these are fourth intervals, except for one, which is a third interval. Okay, so going through that, you'd have a fourth interval, major third, fourth, fourth, fourth. Again, then it repeats again, fourth, third, fourth, fourth, fourth. And often as we go through, you'll hear like a lot of players like Hendrix doing the double stops. I've done a lesson on this before. So it can sound really nice, really melodic. But what I wanted to do here today was to show this in a different way. So we're doing pentatonic double stops, but we're doing this in a horizontal fashion. Okay, so horizontal meaning instead of vertically up and down through the strings, we're going to go across the fretboard. So, right, so up and down this way, up and down the fretboard, as opposed to up and down the strings. So horizontal meaning across the fretboard versus vertical meaning up and down through the strings. Okay, so this is a really fun way to look at this. You might not be comfortable yet with going double stops just in general, but this will be a fun piece to look at and to try to learn. And feel free to play with the techniques I'm doing here. Slow it down, take it at your own pace. Just take phrases from it if you need to. It can be sort of hard to play it up to speed if you're not used to it. So I'm doing this in the key of E major. So the E major pentatonic, you might know this as like the C sharp minor. So the minor pentatonic shape, starting right here, would be where this whole thing begins. Okay. But as we dive into it, you'll see we're not going to stick in one spot. We're going to move across the fretboard, and some chords are outside of the key. They're not diatonic to E major. So when we do that kind of stuff, it's going to switch the key we're playing in. I don't want you to think too hard about the actual key that we're playing when you're learning this. I want you to get used to the double stops. Okay, so get used to how this pentatonic double stop technique sounds, and sort of get used to the sound of those fourth intervals. So that's really the cool part here. We're going to mix and match the thirds and fourths, but most of them are going to be fourth intervals. Also keep in mind, because I wrote this, with the intention of teaching you, these double stops, but also making it sound like a real piece of music. There are going to be some notes that aren't double stops, and that's just the nature of it, right? So if you write something with all double stops, it can sound cool, but it also will just be focused on that one thing, right? I wanted to make it very melodic, very fun to play. So there are some single notes here too, and we're going between single note melody and double stops. So you can sort of see how that adds in some harmony as we go through. All right, so diving into this to start off, the first chord is an E major. So I start off with an open E string, and we're going to play the 9th fret on the A string, hammer on to the 11th fret. So this is just single notes to start off. Then we're going to slide to 14, okay? So this is going horizontally across the fretboard, like I was saying. And then 11, 9, and then 11, 9 again. 11, 14, back to 11. I play the 11th fret twice there. Now, every time I play it like a little bit different. So if you wanted to play with this as well, change it up. Feel free, be my guest. And also, as you go through, find a way that works for your fingers. The way that I'm playing here, I try to do two ways in the example, the playing example of this. You can feel free to use index ring slide up or index ring, okay, whatever's gonna work. All right, now the second time I add the double stop. So we're gonna add the string right below it. On all these examples here, it's gonna be the same fret. All right, so this really cool fourth interval sound. Sounds very exotic. So. And that's all part of the major pentatonic scale. Those are the notes in the actual E major pentatonic, okay? Now, jumping up in the next chord, I go to an A chord. I actually played an A sus too. But what I'm doing here is open A string, and I'm going to play the 2nd fret on the D string. So this note here, the E note, F sharp, so 2nd fret, 4th, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 4, 2, 4, 2, open A string, back to the 2nd fret on the 4th string. And so going up we have E, F sharp, G sharp. Okay, those are the 3 notes there. 2, 4, 6, E, F sharp, G sharp. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part I go all the way up to the 9th fret here. And essentially the note that I'm playing on top, on the 3rd string, the G string, is going to be our double stop note. So we have the 9th fret on the D string, 9th fret on the 3rd string. And this note here is the E, just like down here. And you can play with this phrasing here. It can sound pretty cool depending on how you want to play it. But I'm going to slide from 9 to 11 and then play the open A again. And then here you sort of, there's a few ways you can do it, but I do a hammer on to 13 and 14. So G sharp and E on the D string, so E on the D string, G sharp on the G string. I do a pull off back down, okay? So I'm always going back from the A note. And at the end, I'm just playing the 9th fret on both strings twice. And I do mute the A string before I go back. So again, slow it down, sorry. So this sort of pull off part there, hammer on, can be awkward. It's a big stretch. So if you can't do that, you can try to even just pick the nose. Right, so you don't need to do the hammer on and pull off if you don't want to. I just think it sounds really smooth and really slick as you go through. Alright, so we repeat the same part again. Oh, sorry. Repeat that one more time. Here we go. To the A chord. Alright, so that whole part there was twice in a row. So E and A twice in a row. The next part we go into goes to an F sharp minor chord. So if we're looking at the chord there, it's F sharp minor. What I'm going to do here is go to the 12th fret on the 1st and 2nd strings, okay? And so we're going to come down the fretboard. There's going to be 1/3 interval shape we need to go onto here. So 12, 9, 9, 7. And then we do 5 and 4. This is the 3rd interval. Okay, so these are all 4ths, which can sound pretty cool. Down to the 2nd fret on both strings. Open, 2nd fret, back to 5 and 4. Okay, so this right here, I resolve to the E chord. So there's like, that's all over F sharp minor. When it goes to E, I'm playing those notes there, which is the E note and G sharp. So those 2 notes there are part of the E major chord. That's why it works really nicely, right? And then the second time I could do F sharp minor to C sharp minor. So what I do at the end, instead of resolving to these 2 notes, I resolve to the 1st fret on the G string and 2nd fret on the B string, which is G sharp, C sharp. Right, so those are 2 notes in that C sharp minor chord, G sharp and C sharp. We have the root and the 5th. The 3rd time around, it's the same as the first one. But at the very end, when we go to E and G sharp, I do. So I'm going to basically add in the A note on the 1st string, just for some color here. So I'm doing our standard E, G sharp. And my ring finger is going to add the A note on the 1st string to make it a 4th interval instead of a 3rd. Alright, that's over the E chord. So basically get like an E major, E sus, that kind of sound. And then the last time, we're going to go through, goes to a D major chord. So I'm going to the 10th fret on the 1st and 2nd string, to 12. Maybe slide your 1st finger up, it can be sort of easier. Then we do 15 and 14. Okay, this is D and F sharp. That lines up with our D chord, right? Those 2 notes. So 10, 10, 12, and then we have these two notes here, the 15 and 14. 12, 10, 12. Okay. Final chord is a B major. So D major to B major. And what we're going to do there, going down to the 7th fret. So these two notes are in the B chord as well, the root and the 5th. And I do 7, 7, 5, 7. So same idea here. And then finishing it off, I do B and D sharp here. Those two notes from the B chord. Same idea as we did on the E chord, but up on the 12th fret. So, and that finishes the whole piece there. So the second half, start from the beginning there, of the first and second string. We do the double stops horizontally there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the timing there is a little weird because most of the notes I'm playing there are all in the offbeat, okay? So it can feel a little weird going through that. But really what I want to get used to there is just that double stop sort of sound. So that kind of cool sound in there that you can basically do with any pentatonic scale. So no matter what key you're in, if you look at the fretboard lined up in terms of how the pentatonic scale fits there, you can look at 2 strings at a time and just sort of go up and down and use those 2 strings, try to find what sounds you can get. And that's part of the fun here. So exploring it. My example is just meant to give you something to inspire you to play with this idea. But think of this as 4th intervals, or we can say double stops with mostly 4th intervals. And we're doing the key of E major for the most part, but also changing keys just like any normal song will, right? So most songs won't stick to just one key, and that's sort of the fun part about this. We can sort of switch things up. And for example, the D chord, and going back to the B, sort of takes you out of key, which is a lot of fun. So horizontal double stops in the key of E major. There you go. Have fun with this. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like this video, subscribe. More videos like this coming your way every single week this year. And also, if you enjoyed what I made here, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me do what I do.